Conscripted black soldiers throughout North Africa have an extensive history. Muslim armies have utilized them to advance imperial ambitions since the early Middle Ages. Historically speaking, Morocco is considered a Berber or Amazigh state, but of course there are other ethnic groups who participated in nation building. Today, we're going to be talking about a little discussed period of black history in Morocco. What up, African world? It's Samir, and welcome back to another video of African history, culture, and worldview. By supporting this channel on Patreon, you're helping in the creation of these videos and contributing to this content. The link to Patreon is in the description box below. Also, stay tuned with a word from my sponsors.
Hello, my name is Howard Dorsey. I'm 54 years old. I'm here to talk about my experience with Herbal results. I was getting sick, so I went to the doctor and they told me that my blood pressure was high, my cholesterol was borderline or high, so I was very sick. You know, sometimes I thought I was dying at some point. And I ordered a bottle of olive leaf extract. This is how the bottle comes in. And within the first probably week and a half, 2 weeks, I checked my blood pressure and it was back down to normal. It was like 120/80. My cholesterol went down to 125. You know, I definitely believe that olive leaf extract from Herbal Results saved my life. And that's real. I mean, I recommend it to everyone in my family, my friends, and we've seen a lot of results in that manner as well.
Purchase now at herbalresults.net.
A quick disclaimer before we begin is warranted. Some in the diaspora have a desire to move beyond such blanket terms such as black and prefer to delineate the regions and ethnic groups of the peoples originating below the Sahara. Unfortunately, due to how the literature reads, we aren't afforded that privilege, and so we have to rely on this term to denote origins below the Sahara. So please keep that context in mind. Before we discuss the important role black troops played in Moroccan history, I think it's worth mentioning the extensive history of black men in other North African states. The conscription of black men into Muslim armies wasn't new or unique to Morocco. Black soldiers had been recruited for the Egyptian army long before the Fatimid conquest of Egypt. Before them, the Abbasid governors as well as the Tulunids and the Akshidids used black troops. For instance, Michael the Syrian reported that the second son of al-Sari al-Hakam, Abdallah al-Sari, who ruled Fustat from 822 until 826, owned 80,000 black military slaves. The idea of 80,000 troops is likely an exaggeration, but the point stands nonetheless. Black troops were numerous, contributing to the imperial ambitions of any Muslim army that decided to utilize them. Interestingly enough, despite the racialist undertones in the literature, the black troops of the Fatimid Empire were often regarded as being the most faithful supporters of the Fatimid dynasty. They were certainly an asset in the building of the state, as one source claims they took great part in the conquest of Syria at the end of the 10th century. Moreover, at an earlier time, the Umayyad general Tariq in 711 used his black troops to usher in the Moorish invasion of Europe. When Tariq crossed the sea, he came out at the mountain named after him and sent forward the Sudan to make war. When the Goths saw these frightful forms, they were terrified. The Sudan used to take Gothic and Christian prisoners and slaughter them. Black men undoubtedly contributed to the expansion of Muslim states, and Morocco simply followed this tradition. In fact, the largest empire Morocco had established was in part built by black troops. The Almoravids were the first ruling dynasty in Morocco to use a large number of black slaves in the army during the Islamic era in the 11th century. Many succeeding dynasties would also rely on black soldiers to maintain power. Archival sources indicate that the use of blacks in the armies of the Moroccan authority, and in many cases entire garrisons, consisted solely of black soldiers. Now, of course, this is not at all to suggest that Berber or Arab-led Muslim states in Africa exclusively consisted of a black army, because they did not. However, the contribution of black contingents and their role is grossly underserved. They played their part as any other in the process of empire building, and not just in a military capacity. In fact, there were several Moroccan rulers whose mothers were black women. However, due to what scholar Choki Hamel describes as genealogical determinism, these half-black Moroccan rulers embraced in totality their Arab identities. Many Moroccan rulers were sons of enslaved black women, but thought of themselves as Arabs and Sharif, descended from the Prophet Muhammad, hence of a noble blood. In fact, it was so common to be a ruler and a son of a concubine in Morocco that Moroccan historians sometimes emphasized the free status of the mother of the Sultan. Sultan Moulay Ismail of the 17th century was one of these Moroccan rulers whose mother was a black woman. However, due to genealogical determinism, Moulay likely did not identify with that part of his ancestry. During Moulay Ismail's reign, he purported to do the most controversial thing perhaps in all of Moroccan history. For the purposes of building a strong and stable Morocco, he proceeded to enslave all black people in the country, disregarding their status as Muslims. This was a monumental moment in Moroccan history, not necessarily because all black people were to be enslaved, but because he was defying Muslim law by enslaving fellow free Muslims who happened to be black. The purpose of the enslavement was to create a class of soldiers and any peripheral support needed for the maintenance of the black troops. Reflexively, as Westerners, we may be tempted to equate this event in history to chattel slavery, but it was nearly the exact opposite. The black troops were the most feared people in Morocco, and despite the traumatic experience of the event, black men literally became the arm of the Sultan. To a degree, the very idea that they were even slaves can be challenged, because technically they received regular payments. Regardless, their social status was not remotely similar to what Africans experienced in the Americas. Illustrating this point very clearly was Germain Mouet, who was a captured European in Morocco who witnessed himself how the black bodyguards of Moulay were treated and viewed. The blacks in his army were so imposing because of the confidence that the Sultan has placed in them, that the Moroccans tremble in front of them, and they treated them like lords. So why did Sultan Moulay Ismail do this? Well, in the middle of the 17th century, Morocco's central government was in turmoil. The political unity of the state was in shambles, and various Berber and Arab clans had a proclivity to rely on clan loyalties rather than state loyalty. In Morocco, the weakness of the central authority affected the national political cohesion. Loyalties fluctuated and devolved into regional, tribal, ethnic, or religious orders' interests, strengthening corporate communities. Some soldiers returned to their tribal groups. Most of the blacks in Morocco were landless, vulnerable, and despised, and therefore, they had neither sentimental nor material commitments to groups with interest independent of the Mazans. Moulay understood that he could not have a unified and stable Morocco without a permanent, strong, and loyal army, and so he decided to create the Black Army. It took 2 decades for the Sultan to see the fruits of his labor, but the powerful Black Army delivered the much-needed stability for the country. The Black Army provided the means to realize the dream and the vision of the Sultan to bring security and unity to the country. At the beginning of his reign, the roads were so infested with robbers that it was dangerous to stir out of the town without being well guarded, but he has so well cleared them that now it is anywhere safe for traveling. He maintains his large empire in peace and quietness. Moulay's Black Army went on to consolidate Morocco's economic interests, Saharan trade routes, and other security initiatives. They quelled rebellions in their many battles against other challengers to central authority. It was an unmitigated success for the Sultan in buttressing his authority. After the Sultan's death, the power of the Black Army fluctuated and eventually came to an end. But the legacy of the Black Army in Morocco is most certainly a profound one. Well, I'm all out, guys. If you like these videos and want to help in its continued production, consider supporting the home team on patreon.com. The link is in the description box below. Know thyself. Remember your ancestors. Peace.